Okay, hello and welcome back. In the last video, we talked about just setting everything up and all the folders and everything. So let's get into actually using our images. So let's open up our Godot and our shape pattern. All right. So first off, we're going to use our images here and replace them with these boxes. So in order to do that, we have to first of all change these into a texture react. So let's click on our big box and change type to a texture react. Good. Click on it. Texture will load one of the big pictures. So let's choose, let's say, a big round one for now. Good. So as you can see, it has this blurry look to it. So in order to fix that, we just go to our project settings, and I think we look for what's the word? Is it import? Yeah, textures. No. Is it import? I can't remember the name. Okay, so I found it. So we go to render. So from rendering, we go to our textures and then we change it from linear to nearest so we can preserve the sharpness of the image. So it looks better now. Then we do the same thing for each and every one of these boxes. We hold Control and select everything. Right click, change type to a texture react. Nice. So we select each and every one and put the image of the small shapes in them. So for the first one, we load the triangle small shape. Second one, we load the cycle small shape. Third one, we load the square small shape. And the last one, we load the star small shape. Good. So it's already looking like a mobile game. Yep. So this is how it would look like. The shapes here would change and you can select what sequence of shapes show here, and if you get it correct, then you've won the game. All right, so next now we'll have to do some back end coding development. For now, we'll probably just work with this shape here, so we can let it change 4 times, and then in the next video would work on handling the user inputs. That may probably be the last video for the series. All right, so let's create our let's add a script to this main here. So click on it, attach script. We want it to be empty, and the script should not save in the scenes. It should save. I have a script folder here, so you should save there. Save in the scripts. Open. Yep. Main.gd. Everything looks good, and we create. So we want to know if everything is okay. Let's just try with a simple ready function. Something like the script has loaded. Well, the script is loading. Alright, let's save it and let's play and see if everything is alright. Yep, so as you can see here, the script is loading. Alright, so next now would be to properly arrange our code. This is a this is an opportunity for us to do that. So we can just come up here, and when I mean by arrange, it's something like this. Now that will be here. You can just see this place is for the variables. We can say this place is for the functions. So all functions will be under here. And yeah, so for now, these are what we need. Yeah. So the first variable that we need an array that would hold all the 4 images, so it knows exactly what to cycle around, should I say, or what to loop around. Yeah, it's basically a loop. So we just say at export var, let's call it shapes. It would be an empty array. Good. Then we would want to store another variable that will hold the current sequence of shapes, so that it knows what to compare it to once you make your selection. So let's just say var. Let's bring it up here. Var. Let's call it shape sequence. It's also an empty array. Then we also need another variable that will hold what the current shape is, what the current shape index. So we have 4 images, and in programming, when you are counting something, it starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Those are 4 images. So we want it that every time you start the game, it always starts at the 0 index, the first one. We don't want it to be saving progress of when you ended the game the last time. So just call it current index. It's 0. Yeah. So I think for now, this are the 3 variables that we need. All right. So next, now we would need the function that would generate the random sequence of shape. So let's go down here to our functions. Let's create some space here and function. So we'll come down. Let's create it at the bottom. So we'll create another function. Let's just call it generate sequence. Nice. And this generate sequence will take in the length of the array. So we can say this generate sequence takes in the shape sequence, which we have defined before, and it will be an empty array as usual. So it takes in the shape sequence that is currently being shown, and it will use that to create the random sequence of shapes. So it takes that shape sequence, and then we now use a traditional loop, a for loop in this instance. So for I in range of how many shapes you're showing right now, which is length, for every item in that list, I want you to generate a random list of shapes, and then append those random lists of shapes to this variable here. So shape. So this formula, I got it online, which is it's the most optimal one that I could find, and you just append it using this formula here. It takes a shape, random I, percentage, it takes the shapes and the size. Good. So this formula would get the random sequence of shapes and append it here so that you can use it here. Okay, that's good. So now next, in our ready function, we have to initialize certain functions that have already been inbuilt. That's why I like Godot. Godot has a lot of inbuilt functions, so you don't have to type everything out like this. So one of those inbuilt functions is called randomize. So simple. From the name randomize, it randomizes any sequence that you want. So we have randomize, and then we have our generate. So we can call our generate sequence. And how many sequence of shapes do we want to generate? So we have 4 pictures, so we probably want to generate 4. Good. And then we also call, let's see, generate our 4 sequence, call our randomize. Okay, so after it has generated the sequence and randomized it, we also need to display it. Yeah, and we will need to display it in the big box here. So let's go down again and create another function just to make our code clean and understandable. Let's call it display next shape. This display next shape, it will look at the, let's use the current index to determine if, okay, this sequence is complete. Now we can display it in the big box. So if the current index is less than the size of the shape sequence, then I want you to change the texture of the big box to match the shape sequence of the shapes. So let's make a reference to our game UI, and inside our game UI we want to target our big box, and inside the big box we want to target the texture. This is why I had to change it to a texture react. And we'll take the shape sequence current index. Good. Takes that, and then once it's done with that loop, we'll add 1. So it will continue to do that until it gets to number 4. So it's like a counter. So plus equal to 1. Yeah. Else, once it's done and it's gotten to the number 4, so it has looped through the 4 images 4 times in a random sequence. Then we can just print something simple like hey, the sequence is complete. Okay, this is good. So next, now I'm sure you're wondering, where do we start to import the shapes? Good. So now we have to import all our large shapes into the game. So let's see, main, it should, yeah, so our shapes array now is shown. When you use something like add export, it means that you want to use it here. We can, if you change this to add export and you save it, you can see shape sequences here. But we don't need shape sequence to be something that we can handle outside the game. So let's just clear this. Now we would drag our big shapes here. So big round. It's not accepting it. Okay. Maybe we have to explicitly state that we can only accept 2D textures, because probably it's expecting numbers here. Alright, so let's just come here, let's just clean this and say, hey, this array should accept, let's see, texture 2D. better. Let's save it. So if we drag it, yeah, so let's click on it. So size 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 images. Let's drag the big one here and the big square here, big star here, big triangle here. Good. So now it has the 4 big images that it can randomly loop through. So maybe when you play the game the first time, it does round, triangle, box, star, then later star, box, triangle. So it has to be random every time that you play the game. So next, you might notice that even if we play the game, let's play it now, nothing really happens. It's still showing the same shape. Let's stop it and play it again. It's still not doing what we want it to do. So we want it to cycle through all the 4 shapes. So in order to do that, the first thing that comes to mind would be to use a timer. So after every 1 second, let's say, it should go to the next shape that is available in the shape sequence array. So to do that, number 1, we'll need to add a timer to the game node. So let's click our main, where is it, add child node, and a timer. Good. Let's call this timer sequence timer. Good. Sequence timer. Then we'll select it so that we can get rid of it now. Let's say, okay, yeah, 1 second is okay, and auto start should be off. 1 second, okay, yeah, this is okay. Good. So next now would be to start arranging our variable. So we need a variable that will keep track of if it's currently displaying the sequence, because we want this timer to work when we are displaying the sequence. Once the sequence has stopped, then we don't need the timer anymore. The timer should also stop. So we can just say it's always displaying the sequence. Let's say var let's call it is displaying sequence. Let's be as descriptive as possible. Is displaying the sequence is true. Good. Then we also need a function that would display the next image after 1 second. So let's create another function. Let's call it since we are being descriptive, let's just say display next shape, and this display next shape take a loop. So yeah, I think we can probably use the same loop that we used here. Let's just copy this and we'll just make some small changes. Yes, display next shape has the same name as previously. Oh, what am I even doing? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. So we already have the function here, so we can just clean it. I forgot that we already created the display next shape. So we'll just make some small changes. After every loop, you should wait for 1 second before you go to the next one. So let's just call our sequence timer here. Oh my god, where's my $sign? Okay, our sequence timer should start. Okay. And then when it has ended, we want our is displaying sequence to become false, so it should stop. Is displaying sequence is false, and sequence is complete. Let's just change the sequence is complete now with waiting for player inputs. Good. So now we'll have to add a connection from the sequence timer to our actual script. So we select, now we select our sequence timer, go to our node, and what it should do when the sequence timer has timed out. So we connect it to our main node here on sequence timer. So once the timer has timed out, that's 1 second is over, it should display the next shape. Good. That's all. So after 1 second, display the next shape. After each shape, start the timer. After 1 second, display the next shape. After each shape, start the timer. After one, so it's like a loop among these two functions here. And then let's see, we go to our function ready, and we initialize we initialize the variable. So let's say we created a new one. Display next shape. That should also start when the game starts. So this ready function holds everything that you want to start when you press the play button. So we definitely want to start our randomize, we want to start our sequence generation, and we want to also display the next shape. And let's see, we don't necessarily need to, but let's just do it just to be safe. We can also hold our current index here to be 0. Yep, so let's try it now. Everything looks good. Let's save it and let's play. Okay, star. All right, so it works. It's just that sometimes it shows the same shape twice. Let's try it again and see. Star, cycle, triangle, triangle. Okay, so star, cycle, triangle, triangle. So once the sequence is over, it starts to print this. Let's try it again and see. Star, 1, box, triangle. So 2 stars, box, and a triangle. So you can just come 1, 2, box, triangle, and you would have won the game. So yeah, I think this works perfectly. Maybe in the next video I might add a way that it doesn't use the same image twice, or would have some kind of indicator that would show, hey, this is one image, this is another image. But I think the best way to go about it would be to have different images instead of the same image. It might get confusing because you don't know when it's the next image. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.